Welcome back to the fourth week of racing action here at the 364 Frenzy from Aces Up Esports, presented by Maconi Entertainment. Howie Burrows covering this time the Martin Chicala alongside Jeremy Briggs as usual, as we hit up one of iRacing's most classic free dirt ovals for the halfway mark of the season. Last week, Kenny Hoffman holding off teammates for at Williams Grove, but Lanier provides a bit of a different action opportunity, less banking, a little bit less space, and a lot of track evolution, Jeremy.
Oh yeah, these drivers are going to be all over the track tonight, down low at some point, all up against the wall, 3 wide, maybe 4 wide. We'll see how these drivers manage this race. We're going to have some intense heat racing. These are some of the best drivers on the sim, in my opinion, right here tonight. They put on a great show last night. We were 4 wide at Williams Grove. Absolutely incredible, and got through it clean and green. Excited to see what happens here tonight.
I jumped on board this league to first ever start their special event. I've been meaning a chance to take another look in, even though Marty's been doing a fantastic job as ever. Because some of these drivers, I've been bumping into them more and more as I broadcast, and they are absolute fiends out there on the track. And the racing gets dramatic by the very, very end. You see the state of the track quite early here in qualifying. Very little cushion, and people are using every last part they have of it into turn 1 and 2, right up against the wall. It's just going to be a real battle of finding everything there is on this clay track. Surface a little different than the typical on the dirt track schedule, and that often changes the way it evolves.
That's it right there. The evolving track here on the dirt circuits. This qualifying has just finished up. You're ready to see those results.
Plenty of heat races as ever. I've been told we'll be having up to 4 heat races today, so plenty to run through and lots of starting grids to race through, and thankfully they're going to make that nice and easy for me. First heat race begins with Ashton Miller on P1 next to Tyler Shell next to him. Wyatt Stewart in P3 next to Rainer Villa in 4th, and Bryce Halstein in 5th next to Aiden Stull in 6th. Gavin Castro will be sitting at the back of the grid. 7 drivers on our first race, as ever, 8 laps, fast and furious around here. The planned format with the number of drivers that we have is in intention for 3 heats, with 4 drivers to make the feature in each.
That's where the show is going to be here tonight, right on that position number 4. We saw it last week, tons of battling, not only just up front, but also for that transfer spot. I believe everybody should make the show tonight. We'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be intense racing right there at that cut line.
As ever, it's the fight at the cut that often decides what's quite going to happen on the track. Our 7 drivers lining off and running right now. Only 8 laps. Time's going to fly. 2 pace laps around this classic track. This is one of those free dirt tracks that everyone's quite used to. And I'd say it's the most traditional of them, out of the ones that everybody in iRacing gets to drive. But these 360 dirt cars are absolute monsters out here on the track. So don't underestimate them at your peril. One more pace lap around. Ashton Miller will be leading the drivers to green in that. But it's going to be marked as 5 on the ticker, and it's a 3 on the car. Thank you very much. We are up to green here, and Ashton Miller leads the start. It's Wyatt Stewart on the bottom trying to make that alternate line work. Wasn't particularly good on exit. Tyler Shell, though, sends it in down the inside. It's good on entry, not too good on exit. Wyatt Stewart very, very fast on that bottom. Seems to be holding on to that P4 up front. They are dueling. Here comes that 45 on the bottom side. Absolutely flew on by for just a second. I'm not seeing pace come out from the top yet. Wyatt Stewart in that 0-1, looking now to try and take that P4 from Adrian Stull. Already racing through this, and it's looking pretty close for everything in this top 5.
Extremely tight battles up front and right here at the line. You can see the leaders pretty much single file, trying to grip and rip that top, trying to see if they can make that bottom mark at some point. You can see right there the 050 of Aiden Stull.
Right, a bit slow. Drop back a fair bit. That might threaten him up front still. They are absolutely dueling side by side for grid position. Ashton Miller in the wall. Avila in the back of him. He's going to drop like a rock. And Wyatt Stewart is going to take that P4 for now.
Absolute chaos here with just a few laps left to go here in heat number 1. All the drivers taking notes, everybody getting up into that wall, leading to chaos, positions being dropped, making contact. Who's going to come out of the transfer spot?
Another driver in the wall. That was Adrian Stahl. I think it's a bit more coming up out on a P1, but Tyler Shell is absolutely off in the distance. And I think Wyatt Schutzler is going to take this P4, but he's going to try sending it in to claim third. Not going to happen. Your top four, Tyler Shell, Ashton Miller, Adrian Stahl, and Wyatt Schutzler. And a lot of people pushing the wall, maybe a step or two too far right there.
Wow.
People will learn.
Let's see what heat number 2 looks like.
People will learn, and this track will change. But right now, looking kind of treacherous out there. Josh Whiteman lines up P1 for heat 2 alongside Noah Bowman. Tanner Pettit in P3 next to Aidan Forster. Nick Klosterman lines up in 5th next to Larry Moody. And on the back, it's Shane Yost in the 99. So the track, pretty unusual in that first race. I noticed that, you know, like people were desperate for the wall, but they were all over cooking just a little bit too hard. Grinded right up against it, nearly cost some drivers some important transfer positions there in that race. Might be a little bit different this time around. I think one of the benefits of starting in these later heats is you get to really watch how drivers are tackling the race.
Get a good idea of what's working and what's not, and you know, that bottom line, we were watching, it works great on entry, but has absolutely nothing on exit. Almost seems like the drivers are just sliding their tires, no forward drive, as they can use a little bit of that cushion up at the top to keep that forward momentum. They lose that little bit on entry, so drivers on the top might be in the catbird seat. We'll see how it plays out here.
Keeping an eye on Aidan Forster, one of Outlaw's pro driver and the 10K iRacing Tanner Pettit, who has been a bump into every other week on a dirt broadcast. Nick Klosterman marks the back end here of the cut line drivers, although we'll get more clarity on who quite qualifies as we approach what would be the alphabet rounds. Here we go. We are green on the track and already potentially sending it free wide. Josh Whiteman and Noah Bowman are the fastest. Tanner Pettit dropping a little bit low. Contact with Foster on the top line, but it's looking okay for the two of them. Through he goes.
Oh, what a slide by Pettit there. Bowman trying to pass him over the slider.
What a send by Pettit. He wants to be at the front and he thinks that qualifying let him down. This whole field a whole lot closer than before. It's Shane Yost that's the fastest, but he's only sitting back in P5. They are sending free almost 4 wide deep here, but no one's quite finding a better line right now. Tanner Pettit looking to run away. Larry Moody drops like an absolute rock. Aidan Foster still holding up that 4th place. Shane Yost sitting in the middle of this track and not finding much momentum. Whiteman and Bowman now side by side. Pettit's in the wall. Pettit's back. He's around. And he might be down and out of this day on the track. That is unusual for Tanner Pettit, but that mistake into the wall, and that's going to cost him absolutely everything. Bowman and Yost side by side for 4th, and Klosterman too far back. I think we have our top 4 secured.
Yost from the tail of the field to the transfer spot as the battle for lead between Forster and Whiteman continues.
They're closer, looking for grid positions in the future rounds. Aidan Forster going to try and make a line work around here. Not quite sending it successfully. Yost and Bowman. Oh, he does, right up the inside. Washes up on exit into the wall. It's going to be good enough for a P1.
Wow.
Tanner Pettit down and out. Here's what happened. Was it a shot too hard into the wall, or was it a shot into another car? I wonder. He absolutely... Oh, it's a hard ride into the wall. Then there's contact with that 20 car. I think people try to give each other room there, and it just became a bit of a tangle. Last heat of the day. Let's get it rolling. Tyler Lush on P1 next to Matthew Croak. Ty Schoberlock next to Peyton Overmeyer. Michael Cooper next to Connor Dudek. And on the back, it's Gary Mansberger. I think that cushion on the top getting bigger and bigger here, but even Tanner Pettit proved he is not immune to mistakes against that wall, and usually an absolute legend of this series. 10k high rating dropped all the way to the back, and it's going to have a hard time making it further up in the night, but it's not impossible, of course, with the long day format ahead of us. Tyler Lucian, Matthew Croak in 1 and 2. Oh, what about those pro driver today of the season? Ty, Joe Block.
One thing I've noticed here, it is extremely hard to pass. You have to have that slider timed precisely correct, because if you don't make that slider, you may lose 2 positions. These drivers have had the opportunity to watch the first 2 heats, see what they've learned, see what they can put on the table and put on the track. 8 laps to do it.
A final heat of the day. This determines how the rest of your evening goes. Everybody's going to get a chance one way or another, but we are green on the track. Ty Schoberlock gets a good lead off, but it's slow on exit, and Matthew Croak's going to try and take that down the inside. Quite a few drivers in the wall, but that slide job on the bottom did quite a good job. Almost took out Tyler Luch from the lead. Everybody's trying different stuff now. This track seems a little bit more open. 3 wide again. Peyton Overmeyer just watching from behind, and Connor Dudek I don't think has added this one bit. This is a wild chase up the front. Little bit of contact there with that 71. I think that might have sent our 18 car back.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Well, I bet you one thing these drivers have learned, you have to throw absolutely monster sliders. Schobler, Croak loose, also absolutely just battling it out up here at the front as Dudek is in that 4th and final transfer spot.
Peyton Overmeyer has been looking for a way in that 18 car again. He gets it, passing the pink 7 of Connor Dudek up front. I don't think anyone's quite settled in for the lead, and Matthew Croak's going to look to run away. These slide jobs working a lot better. You can see that bottom is really slicked up. It's getting quite grey, and drivers are really sending it in and getting rotation out the car. And that top cushion has sort of stopped playing good games for him. Look at how slick the bottom of that track is there into those 2 turns, and look how fast you can send it in.
Coming to the white flag, Dudek, Overmeyer battling it out. Mansberger looking far from a distance. Croak, Schoblack, loose, spelling up front as well.
I think it's going to be close for this transfer. The 18 and the 7 have been tangling it non-stop, and I think on exit it's going to be good for the 7. Net code out from one of the cars. I actually wonder if that affects... No, Tyler Luce did finish 3rd across the line after quite whatever that was on the track. That's going to mark all of the drivers. Keeping an eye on the format now. 5 minutes of warm-up, and we are going straight to a feature today. So that means that your position, we didn't have the transfer, but your position on the grid is going to highly depend here on how you did in those earlier races. Drivers like Tanner Pettit, they are going to be struggling.
A long ways to go. We're going to have to throw some monster sliders. See what the track state like is now with the lights on. Drivers now going out for a quick little warm-up session. Work the track in, get a feel for it, see what is at stake for them here this round. 30 laps the distance coming up.
Quite how hard you send the 360 around here. Not the fastest cars out here available, but they certainly provide some of the most thrilling racing. It's Tyler Schell trying to run it up against the wall, and you can see that a lot of that cushion just didn't really build over the course. And in fact, instead, just the bottom got slicker and slicker and slicker as more and more people tried to use it, and that turned it into a real advantage point. Drivers are going to be trying out a lot of things as they warm in the track. Here's a few more drivers coming out of pit road. Tanner Pettit, very far down the grid. We will run through the starting grid before the race, but just so you know, Tyler Schell should be starting on P1, Aidan Forster in 2, Matthew Croak in 3rd, Ashton Miller in 4th, Tanner Pettit in 17th. He's got a mile to climb up as usually one of the strongest drivers in this league. And what about Kenny Hoffman, last week's winner? Is he actually on the track here? Don't think he is. He doesn't quite have a record to defend on the season as we next week we head down to Knoxville.
Knoxville is one of those crown jewel places. Cruel. We're just gonna stop talking. Crown jewel races there at Knoxville. Those ones gonna be exciting with these drivers. Like you said, the 360s, they're not rocket ships, but they definitely play into the, you know, slower, maybe better category with great racing side by side drivers, maybe having just a smidgen more control, able to put on some more great racing action for the folks at home.
Some talk within the Aces Up community. This has been a successful season, a good return of the cars, and they've been thinking about running a 410 series as well alongside the World of Outlaws Pro Series that will be running some of these later on in the year. Keep an eye on their community for more information about this. If you want to race, it's free entry into the Aces Up League, of course. I know cash prize this time around, but it's an absolute joy to run with some of these guys who feel good at dirt racing. This is one of those communities I'd quite like a chance to spend time with if I knew anything about how to actually get these cars around here. The floor, though, it's mostly 4Ks the whole way up, and then you almost got hosed in the 10K on the dirt oval. It's scary.
Oh, these drivers definitely have some pretty good numbers to back up how they drive it. Like I said last week, man, 4 wide at Williams Grove. Sounds like absolute disaster, but they kept it clean and green, and I don't know if I could have even went the 4 wide. And in my opinion, they didn't even wreck. So excited to see what happens here in the next minute and a half, just under, as these drivers continue to take a few laps, get ready for tonight's racing action, see how far they can push it over that cushion.
That cushion has just generally not developed at all. In the real world, the Georgia red clay on this track is very different than the black dirt in the Midwest. It becomes quite slick faster, and it doesn't really react well to moisture out there on the track, so it's much more dynamic and much more responsive. As only a few drivers out on the track, and they are taking some trips out. This is Noah Bowman's car. I think he's enjoying just adding a little bit of chaos to the circumstances. Of course, lower banking here than some other tracks like Knoxville next week, and it's not the widest either, but it's sort of in that Goldilocks mean, I think, of the average dirt track design on iRacing. You're seeing less aggression out here as a result of people having to really commit to moves and send it in. For a 30-lap feature on the way, it's going to be I'm going to say it's going to be a long one. These races are always, they end up flying by as long as we don't go absolute caution fest with the caution laps not counting. Looks to me as if drivers are pretty much done with the warm-up period, so once we get the switch, we'll be bringing you our final starting grid of the night. As the track state resets and rolls over, we get a look at our starting grid. It's Tyler Schell in first with Aidan Forster in P2. Matthew Croaks lines up in third next to Ashton Miller in fourth. Josh Whiteman's in fifth next to Ty Chauvelot in sixth. And Aidan Starles in seventh next to Shane Yost in eighth, alongside Tyler Luch and Wyatt Stewart. Jeremy?
Yeah, 11th goes to Noah Bowman. 12th goes to Connor Dudek. 13th, Ryan Avila. 14th, Nick Klosterman. 15th, Peyton Overmeyer. 16th, Gavin Costo. 17th, Tanner Pettit. 18th, Gary Mansberger. 19th, Bryce Heistein. 20th, Larry Moody. And 21st, Michael Cooper.
This race is going to take a little bit more give and take than usual. Some of the strongest drivers at the back of the grid, or right in the middle. Ryan Avila, another one as well. I'm used to seeing up right near the front. He didn't have a great day. He's lined up 13th on the grid now. So I think some drivers are going to be really pushing their way up, and they can't get impatient and they can't get stupid, because if they get stupid, there is going to be beef to be had on the track. 21 cars having to share Lanier. We've seen some fantastic heat racing already, but 30 laps are going to fly by in a heartbeat.
Going by very quick, and drivers in the back are going to be making some desperate moves, trying to get to the front as quickly as they can. See if any cautions lead to any chaos on the restarts. Look at all these cars, 21 of them here to do battle on Maconi Entertainment. Excited to be part of this one.
Just another pace lap and Tyler Shell will be able to lead the row. Would you believe if we stay green, it's only 6 minutes of running to make 30 laps in total? It's rare for a race to stay totally perfectly green. No. Pace trucks in. Here we go in turn 3. Tyler Shell sends it off, and I notice Matthew broke there on the low side, almost tried to make something happen straight away. We're green. Bit of a check up here in the middle. Quite a few cars going fairly wide. Still almost 3-4 wide rows further back. Further up, Aiden Forster currently is in our P2, trading with Matthew Croak, as Tyler Shell enjoys running away with it.
Shell with a very clean windshield right now. Wind visor, having no problem getting around this track. Lots of side-by-side battles though throughout the field. Almost 3 wide. Haven't seen it 4 wide. 3 wide back here. Looks like the 17 doing battle. 3 wide there.
Hayden Overmeyer sent to the back there. Little mistake. Race stays green, but he was just demoted down. Must have had some incident on the track. 5 laps already passed. Ashton Miller, Tyler Lutz, side-by-side trading places. Gap's starting to expand out just a little bit. Tyler Shell not really able to run away. Only 2 tenths so far on the books. Everybody mostly keeping it clean and green. A few drivers sort of diving for 2 to 3 wide here. Noah Bowman on the bottom we're looking at right now in that 24. Quite slow. Evolution seems to have changed. You can see how slick that track is down there into 1 and 2, but for some reason the pace just isn't quite there as I'm used to.
Drivers having to be extremely patient on those throttles. They know there's cars out there. Hopefully they know that there's 2 cars out there when they're out there battling 3 wide. Up against that wall, sparks flying, just making slight contact each and every lap. You see it really getting slick now.
Starting to get a little bit more evolution in time here. That's Aiden Skull's car battling out for the 6th position, where the battling seems to be quite the closest. Tyler Lutz is there, just hoping that they stay back. Still green on the track, and it's all kicking off quite a bit further behind. But one thing that hasn't changed is our P1, Tyler Shell. 3 tenths now, making consistent gains on other drivers on the track. As it's been a pretty clean one out there. Few drivers dropping. I think Josh Weidman's just had a horrible run of it and dropped down the track. Still, though, little bits of contact here and there, but they're being quite respectful of each other's space. We might make it a halfway mark green here.
Almost to the halfway point. Tanner Pettit up battling for the 11th and 10th position.
He's been making some moves up, but not a huge amount. Started 17th. He's going to do a little bit more to reach up the front, but if anyone's fast, it might just be him and able to do it. Aiden Forster has been catching up to the rear of Tyler Shell, and Mike looked to try and take this place away. He's ripping the top. Tyler Shell running at the bottom. Now they swap places. Huge slide job up there in the way for the lead. Now Shell jumping to the bottom. Can he do the same? He jumps down into the wall. That might cost it for him.
Got lap traffic in front as well. Slight mistake. Oh, another mistake though out of Forrester. These drivers are just banging it off the wall, making mistakes. Hopefully that doesn't let the Croak machine reel him in though. He's 1.3 back.
That's the 18 of Peyton Overmeyer. He had the incident earlier today in this race, and now he's sort of in the way. Lap cars, pretty unusual in a race of this late that way on the track. Leighton Forster holding on to that lead for now. Huge gaps behind Matthew Croak and Ashton Miller, pretty much running their own races. As Tyler Lutz runs the top, Connor Dudek runs the bottom. Up front, slide job again by Tyler Shell, but it's sent a little bit too far because Aiden Forster's able to just jump back down again. So there's certainly pace inside that Forster car, and I think they might go too wide until the end of this race. And I think that top's getting a little faster.
I don't know who's faster right now. This is going to be almost side by side for the whole lap. One on the bottom, one on the top. This is really impressive here for the battle for this lead. Laps are winding down, under 10 to go.
You can see they've chosen their lines now, and Tyler Shell's almost committed to this bottom until space can open up for him up top. Space has opened. He still takes the bottom. I think it's getting slower and slower and slower for him now, and I'm not quite seeing the results he's looking for coming out. Keeping an eye further back, it's 4 tenths now up there in the lead, and it's still quite the gaggle around here for P4 and 5. Ashton Miller leads the way, but drivers trying out all sorts of different lines here out on the track. 8 to go. We're pretty close to a perfectly green race all the way to the finish. Tyler Shell not really looking in to Aiden Foster. I think the slide drops and finding the lines finally works. You can see how grey the bottom of the track is to 1 and 2, and even 3 and 4. That track evolution is outrageous on the track. Let's see if we can get a more useful onboard than that, so you can just quite see it has just become Slick City all over this place. You can just see the tarmac.
Drivers doing an impressive job. 6 laps to go. Laps just ticking away here.
This is going to take a perfectly green race all the way to the end, I think. And I think Aiden Forster has made the run away of his lifetime. Almost no cushion left on top. He's hugging everything that's left. Only a few laps to go, less than a minute of lapping. And he's going to take home a win that must have felt pretty easy after a battle for it. A nice clean battle as well. Still, this chase here for P4. Bryce Hammerstein leads over Dudek, and Tyler Lucian just sends it from the bottom all the way up and kills his momentum on exit. All of that pretty much for nothing. And Tanner Pettit has been climbing and climbing. He's now P6 on the racetrack, so I'd consider that a pretty good comeback game. Now holds the bottom, where he definitely has exit pace, potentially contend for P6, but Aiden Foster is about to fly across the line and about to take the checkered flag. Had to make one pass for it and then make sure that race stayed green the whole time. Aiden Foster wins here at Lanier.
Well, they did a good job proving you wrong and going from green to checkered here tonight. Wow. Guess they could back up my statement earlier when I say these are some of the best drivers in my opinion, and that's some great racing.
A hard charger of the race, Bryce Hammerstein, up 15 places, 19th to 4th. We'll be talking to him alongside our top 3 in just a minute when they get themselves into the booth. That race, I'd say there are definitely crazier dirt races out there on the track. That one was pretty tame by our standards, but it was high skill. It was super high skill, and that's what you love to see out there. Driver starting to drop into the broadcast booth right now. Let's talk to our race winner, Aiden Forster. Let me just do the wonderful game of lining up the cameras perfectly just to make this absolutely beautiful experience for everybody. Oh, look at that go. We'll talk to Aiden Forster first. Hide that. Get out of here. Why did that show up? Why did that show up? Aiden Forster, very good win on the track. Stay green the whole way. You needed to make one pass to make it happen. You chose your line and you stuck to it.
Yeah, we had a really good car. We were able to adapt to the track there, and we were able to get around Tyler there, and it was just smooth sailing after that. We went green to checkered there, which made it pretty easy. Didn't have to have any late race cautions, throw something in there. But yeah, Tanner built me a good setup for this race, and yeah, I'm glad to finally get a win in this series. We've been consistent. We've had some unfortunate things happen, but we're getting going.
Track evolution over this race was quite unusual. That bottom line slicked all the way up, but you definitely stuck to your lane and made it happen.
Yeah, I actually was kind of prepared to move down at one point, but that top just never went away, and we just stuck to it and got in a good rhythm, and yeah, we came out with the win.
From P2 to P1, green to the end. Do you have any other thank yous or shout-outs?
Yeah, I'd like to most importantly thank Tanner Pettit from TPR. He puts in a lot of time and gives up me the product that I need to win this, so I can't thank him enough. He's the man, and yeah, hopefully he can be back next week and rack up some more points.
Good win. Well, thank you for entering the booth, Hayden.
Thank you guys.
Next up, Tyler Shell. I'll leave in with you, Jeremy.
Yes, we are standing by with the number 85 of Tyler Shell. Tyler, unfortunately, you come up one spot short. You guys had some great battle up there, some great slide jobs, very aggressive. Lots of side-by-side action. Looks like that bottom just didn't hold on long enough for you.
Yeah, just he was better. He's I kind of faded more so. He's definitely better. Probably halfway through the race, I just think I was off on the gearing, and so I tried to go down to the bottom and see if it would help, and it just wasn't what I thought. I had something on the bottom, and then it was too slick for too long, and he was able to get away, and then I started kind of reeling at the end, but it wasn't enough time. I really screwed up just in qualifying. I missed my line really bad, and lost a lot of points there. So I think we have like 5 points separating us for the last 2 races. So it's kind of a new series for the last 2 races, and hopefully we can all play better.
We appreciate your time. Before we let you go, who do you got to thank for getting here tonight?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you guys for taking the time every week and broadcasting it, and then Chad for all he does with the league and for all he does for me, and then TJM, Elbows Up, and More Than Tires.
Awesome. Appreciate your time. We'll hopefully talk to you in the near future.
Yep. See ya.
That's our P2 finisher, Tyler Shaw, and I think Matthew Croak. I wonder what I'm going to even be able to get out of him after quite a lonely race, but certainly did hold on to that place. Matthew, quite a lonely race for some time after the opening. It's just sort of stayed green, and you certainly stayed where you were, but there was some good pace in there.
Yeah, it was kind of one of those races where the top 2 were kind of gone, and I was off in La La Land. I kind of set up more for bottom. I thought the bottom was going to stay in a little bit longer, but it faded away pretty fast. So those 2 were just hammering the boards, and I was just kind of sitting duck, running my lines, and luckily nobody could really catch me from behind. I don't know if they were close or not, but overall, good race, and I'll take a top 3 any day.
What separates Lanier from other tracks on the schedule? What's most notable about the way it evolves?
It's one of those tracks where it's the bottom will go away and then it'll go up to the top. And once the top goes away, usually the bottom will come back in. But you also have to be careful because there's like a little crease on the track from the asphalt track that will really push you tight off exit if you hit it just wrong. So that was one thing to deal with. But I think my teammate Bryce there, I think he was running bottom the whole race, and I think he's hard charger, like 19th, 4th, I want to say. So, shout out him for running that bottom. It's tricky. So,
Any other thank yous or shout outs to wrap up the top 3 here?
yeah, first off, I have to thank you guys for the broadcast. Chad for putting on the league. This is one of the top notch leagues that we run here. So, can't thank him enough for all he does to put it on. I want to thank Colin over at BBS for all the help and support. Fusion Setup Shop, DSD Designs, Casey Simmons Photography, Victory Fuel, and A2 Performance Horses.
Appreciate you coming in. P3's a P3, no matter how lonely it gets. Remember that.
Yep, thank you.
And I'll leave you with a hard charger. Bryce Helmstein started 19th to get to 4th.
Yeah, 19th to 4th for the number 84, Bryce. Man, a lot of people didn't have any stories to talk about, but you definitely had one there, man. What was it like being able to just kind of march through that field in only 6 minutes and 40 seconds?
Hey, I mean, squirrel finds a nut every now and then, and tonight I just made it happen. The bottom had enough grip in it, and I think traditionally this place is get up and pound the cushion, and everybody tried to get up there too quick and kind of left the door wide open, and I was able to pick some people off, and I got up behind Tanner, and that's one of the guys that's in contention to win races all the time, whether he starts at the back or the front, and he got in there a little too hard and got into a car. It was quite a bit slower and gave me a chance to run around him on the outside, and kind of just knew I had to stay down there and hold that line and keep in the moisture.
Definitely had a great car tonight. Had to work it for it. But who do you got to thank for getting here? I mean, it's almost like a pretty much another podium interview here. You finished 4th and you're the hard charger. So who do you got to thank for getting you here tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank Fusion Setup Shop and BBS put on some really good sets for me that I feel pretty comfortable with. I got to give a big shout out to Mark Dudek. He's my inspiration and my drive. Connor, Maconi, the guys back in the shop, just have a good time on the game. We don't take it as serious as what we used to. We just, cut back, have a good time, and that's what makes this sim so enjoyable.
We definitely make it a good time up here in the broadcast booth. Appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll talk to you again in the near future, 1 spot or 3 spots better.
Absolutely. Appreciate the broadcast. Appreciate Chad for putting this on, and look forward to seeing you guys next week.
I'd like to thank all 3 top drivers and our hard charger, of course, for talking to us for post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. So that was quite the quickie here at Lanier. Some pretty high skill racing on the track, even if drivers weren't quite able to make it quite past and around each other. That makes it past the halfway mark on the season, and you'll be around, hopefully back with Marty Cicala for Knoxville, which is, I believe I would call it the super speedway of dirt racing. Am I right with that?
Yeah, definitely going to be pretty much wide open at that big track for these 360 sprint. And there were great racing here tonight, though. And we're excited to come back next week right here at Maconi Entertainment. And these drivers have put on one heck of a show. Green to checkered here at Lanier.
Exciting season down the line, and we'll finish the championship at Weed Sport on October 22nd. It'll all be here on Maconi Entertainment. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Thank every driver for joining in the race as well. Thanks to the crew at Aces Up for being so accommodating and wonderful. I've been Howie Bowes alongside Jeremy Briggs, bringing you action here on a Wednesday night here at Lanier.